Hi, welcome to my journey. So we went to Dollar Tree, and of course, I stocked up on some snacks, and I did get a bone for the dogs for them to fight over. This big old bone right here. It's a pork femur bone. Yeah, got myself some more pork rinds. I got myself some peppermint sticks. And, oh yeah, got myself some junior mints. And then I got myself some of these Kickstarts. Right? Mountain Dew Kickstarts. They're very good. And they're low in calories. Right? They got C, niacin, B6, pantothenic acid. Yeah. And the whole can is only 80 calories. So it's not bad at all. They got me 4 of them. And then I got me a couple of these Peaks. I tried them before, and they're pretty darn good. They got vitamin C, thiamine, niacin, B6, and a pantothenic acid, right? So I got me 2 packs of these, which kind of makes me feel like that's what I'm drinking when I'm drinking the Mountain Dew. Okay, that's kind of what I'm trying to drink. Then I was studying their medication, and I bought myself one of these. Yes, it says it's for kids. However, what I do like about it is one chew has C, D, a gram of fiber, and that alone made me feel like, yeah, this is good. This is good. It also has a superfood blend composed of 1,050 mg's, and it's all kinds of stuff, right? So I got me that. Oh yeah, I got my pets 2 collars that look alike. Yeah, because just in case I have to grab them around the neck. Okay. I got me some allergy relief, some more allergy reliefs. They have different kind of active ingredient, nasal relief, chest congestion relief, yeah, and cold and flu nighttime. So yeah, I ended up buying quite a bit of stuff that I hadn't intended on really buying, but I bought it anyway. And I got me some red nail polish, because I was looking for red, and I'm like, I got bright pink. How come I don't have any bright red? Isn't it Christmas? Right? You can even use bright red for New Year's. If that's if you're doing anything. Even if you're not doing anything and you just want to feel lovely by yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with you wanting to feel lovely for yourself. You don't only have to feel lovely for somebody else. I'm kind of disappointed because I see my black glove on the ground, and I'm really, really hoping that my black glove, the other one, is at home. I'm hoping and praying. Because nowadays, to buy some foo-foo gloves would cost me a fortune. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Today I got on white foo-foo, but yesterday I had on black foo-foo. And I hope the other black foo-foo is in the house. Oh. So yeah, I took out some chicken to cook later on. Just in case I feel like cooking. I might not feel like cooking because it may be a soup day for me, right? Maybe even like a top ramen soup day. Because it's still only 44 degrees, even though the sun is shining bright and beautiful. So, like I said, I already did my exercises. I did my mile walk. I had my protein shake. And yeah. So now it's just a matter of me getting out, seeing what's going on out here in the world. Kind of had a weird dream. And the weird dream that I had, it was like, right before I woke up, it was like, oh, well, if you had sex, then you wouldn't mind waking up. And I'm like, no, that's not true, because sex for women is more draining than anything. It doesn't really give women energy. Most women will say, they'll call it relaxing, right? They've relaxed, right? And that's just a nice way of putting it, that, some of their energy has been taken away. So now they're able to, like, rest. Whatever. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know where the hell that download came from, but I rebuked it, and I gave it a piece of my mind. Like, hell no. And I got my ass up and started doing my lightweight exercises. And eventually, I got to moving around. Okay? But, let's keep it real. It feels opposite for men, because men, they do get energy from women. That's why so many of them don't care, how they get the energy. They just want the energy. Right? They just want the energy. And they try to make women feel good, about them taking your energy. That's okay, baby, you just stay home. That's okay, baby, you just stay here in the bed. That's okay, baby. No, it's not okay, baby. It's not. I'm telling you it's not. You can believe it or not believe it. But what I do ask you to do is to at least track it. Right? Track it. And get the data from it, Are you energized after, you have sex, or are you relaxed, laid out? You should know. Not him, you. Yourself. But because they're so great at projecting onto women, you know, and not seeing past themselves, right? Very great at being, you know, self-centered, that they think that that's the way everybody is, right? And we're like nodding along to get along, you know, yeah, I feel great, I feel good. And he's trying to figure out how come you're not energized to jump up and cook him dinner and clean the house and do all of this before you even leave the house. All right? And you can't even explain it to him because you're like, no. Can't even explain it to him. They wouldn't even understand. The only thing that they will understand is, you know, were we naive enough to want to comply enough to get their approval? That's what they understand. Okay, that is what they understand. I just love it down here. My goodness. So, you know, of course, the clerk asked me how I was doing. I tell the clerk I'm making it. Glad I made it through another year, because this year has been a struggle. And it has. It has been a struggle. Right? At first I thought maybe I'd catch a break. And it was like every day feeling like, oh, the break is going to come through. The break is going to come through. Only to find out that the break didn't come through. Right? And so when the break doesn't come through, you know, you kind of have to ask yourself, you know, what does the future hold for you if the break isn't going to come through? And it's like, you can't speed it up and you can't slow it. Well, you might be able to slow it down a little bit. You might be able to speed it up, you know, like, you know, say you're about to get an eviction. You're about to get an eviction. You could speed it up by getting rid of all your shit. You know, you can. You can speed it up by getting rid of all your shit and basically just, you know, stay in there until the last possible moment, or until, you know, you find someplace else to live before the eviction date, you know. But on a mattress or some blankets and some cardboard. Make sure you put some cardboard underneath that blankets, so you know the cardboard will absorb some of the cold air from the floor. Don't be stupid. So yeah, wow. They have a window cleaner, right? But they won't even let the window cleaner park in the yard. Ain't that crazy? I mean, their house is like 50 yards from the street, and they're like, okay, we need a window cleaner to come and show up, but they don't even let they don't even let the window cleaner van come in the yard, and that's crazy to me. That's like, what the hell is wrong with these people? So, something like that lets you know that even the wealthy and the rich are scared. Okay? They pretend like they're not, but they are scared too. Right? They're not just scared that people would just stop going to work, period. Just stop going to work, stop paying their bills. This includes police officers, everyone, right? Just everyone just stop. Right? They're not just scared that will happen, but they're also scared that that it would that it would escalate, right? And what would that be? That would be that, they'll start looting, destroying, burning, bombing, boom, right? And, yeah, that's what they're really scared of. Right? Because, for the longest time, they were able to hook people into believing that, you work hard, you be loyal to your company, you can, retire and get a pension, and, basically, you wouldn't have to worry as long as, you paid for, your plot, right? But now they have to worry anyway because, hey, you still got to pay taxes even if your house is paid for. Right? And the taxes keep going up every year. Right? And a lot of people don't even understand that until the second year that they've owned the house. The second year that they've owned the house, and they're telling them that, oh, your escrow is short. And they're like, how's my escrow short? How is it that I'm not paying the same amount every year? And they're like, no, you have to understand your escrow is short. And then you have to figure it out, well, where is it short at? And they'll tell you, well, it's probably your taxes and your insurance. Right? It's not your interest rate unless you got you a variable interest rate. But most people are educated against getting a variable interest rate because, it sounds pleasant at the time, and it sounds like, you might be able to get out of the loan or resell the loan for a profit, as long as you have limitations on how many points per year it could increase, right? But let's just say that doesn't happen the way that you want to, right? It ain't coming around like that, right? So, maybe you had, a maximum of 3 points. And now, it keeps going up. And now, it done went up 3 years in a row. and now it's 9 extra interest points, percentages. That's a lot. And you still can't sell the property, or you still can't resell the loan. Yeah, that's a nice little tent right there. I guess that happened from the marathon yesterday. And most of us, we can't afford no vices at all. Most of us can't. Now, these men, they're like, either they can have their vices or they'd rather die. But most of everybody else who got common sense is like they can't afford no vices, So the majority of things that, we spend our money on is food. And then when they started inflating food fast, right? They started inflating food really fast. People were like, how is this happening? How is this happening? And I kept telling them how it was happening. How it was happening were these investors of Bitcoins. They were the ones that was interfering in the natural process of our economy. And people aren't listening what I'm saying, because there are a lot of people who know people who have made a lot of money through Bitcoins. And nobody knew what Bitcoins was. And Bitcoins is like a paid economy manipulator, right? That's like when you call for a specialist to say, hey, I got $10, here's $10. Can you flip my $10 for me? And you don't care how they do it, right? That's like Bitcoin. Bitcoin would take the $10 from millions of people and try to figure out ways to flip it. And they figured it out that, they'll play against the market. That's why the stock market was having these huge influxes, unseen influxes of profits and losses, right? They had never seen that before, not understanding, how is it, that these people were able to invest like this, right? And that's a form of, what was that crime that they charged, what's her name? The model cook lady. They charged her with having knowledge of how the markets were going to move. Well, that's what Bitcoins are. They not only have knowledge of how the market is going to move, but they are the actual manipulators of the market. And I keep trying to explain this to people, and nobody's listening. Like I said, it's mainly because, they know too many people who have invested in Bitcoins, who have miraculously, gotten over tons and tons and tons of money. Even now, on various platforms, including PayPal, who are advertising to people to buy into shares into Bitcoin, okay? let me tell you, I would not do that, right? Because when it's all said and done, it's going to be your shares that go to the chopping blocks, while it's their shares that they're saying, benefited from, the increase. Because you don't know, right? You don't know. It's whatever they say. I can't remember what they charged her with. You know who I'm talking about. She started doing those commercials with Snoop Dogg and Skechers. She was having collaborations with them. Damn, I can't remember her name. But that's how far, they brought her down. They brought her down so far that, people can't even hardly remember her name anymore. But, she was a model. Then she became Martha Stewart. That's who I'm talking about. Martha Stewart. She was a model. She became like a household name as far as home decorating and cooking. And then, when they went after her, she was lucky to even come out of there. I think she had to do like 6 months of jail time. And of course, at that level, when you're doing jail time is like house arrest. Right? Because it's just too dangerous to put you in, a common jail or a common prison. Which is one of the reasons why, they opened up, they're opening back up the old prison of Alcatraz because of what's going on with these people who have, diplomatic status, and there's a lot of them, and they are not able, to go to a regular jail or prison. So that's why they want to open up a special prison to house their ass in, right? And even though Obama thought he wasn't going to be able to be prosecuted, he's running scared now, and that's why he didn't left the country. And it's said that he went to the UK. And interesting enough, he did not go to a country that won't extradite his ass. The UK would definitely extradite his ass. Okay? I don't think, I don't think he's going to get any kind of like, what do you call it? Diplomatic immunity granted to him from the UK. It's just not going to happen. I mean, even if he was going to try to say, it was a witch hunt, and it's like, you guys are now crying about a witch hunt, but then all of the things that you had did to a former president, Trump, who lived through the witch hunt, now you're saying you can't live through the witch hunt. Okay. Right? You can dish it out, but you can't take it. Trump lived right through all of those allegations. Every last one of them, and there were a lot of them going way back beyond, way past, statute of limitations. And they thought America was going to feel some type of way about, oh, well, if there's photos out there with him, at dinner or in a restaurant with Epstein and so forth and so on, well, damn well these people were smoozing up to our government so they could keep their operations going. Right? But the main thing is, even though they were smoozing up to, these government officials, they weren't telling the government officials exactly what they were doing. Right? They were presenting these girls, as party girls. They tried to, who did they try to copy? The Playboy Bunny mansion. Who was that? Right? They tried to take that example of the Playboy Bunny, where they had, all of these models, hanging around in bunny suits, right? But they tried to make it seem like, well, this is just beautiful models that they wanted to see, and this, that, and the third. And nobody ever talked about, well, maybe there was, propositions and proposals and, transactions of the flesh, going on behind the scenes. Right? And then the weird part about it is they were like, well, prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. And it's like, no, that's sex trafficking, you dumbass. It's not acceptable. It is not an acceptable business practice. But they did try to say that to you. How many times have you heard it said, prostitution is the oldest profession in the world? It's not a profession. It's not. It's human slavery. And many of them are being forced into it. And the easiest way for men to get women forced into it is to attack the women while they're children, right? If they can run up on a child while she's still living at her parents' house, get her kicked out of her parents' house, with her having no place to go, now she's at the mercy of these men that want to exploit her and, and profit from the exploitation of her body. Right? Because that's who they really want to buy. They don't want to buy just any body. They want to buy a body that, they figure they can't get. Therefore, they'll pay for it. And that is the body of a child. And then we have groups of men who are like, oh, hell no. You're going to sit up here and just give women money for just giving you sex? And they're trying to figure out different ways that they could give sex. though, is perversion, and it's addictive, and it's destructive to the moral core of our society. Right? Because definitely sex and women are the moral core of what makes us feel fulfilled in this realm. Right? Even more than money. Some people would try to say, nah, it's money and it's all of these activities. And there may be a moment there may be, a phase in your life that you feel this way, right? Like when you start getting your hormones, right? And when you're trying to hang on to your hormones, right? But then after that, let me tell you something. It's completely different. It's way different. And a lot of men, they want to pretend like, they're still virile, right? They still got that fertility, even as old men, which they don't. You can ask any prostitute, which is why they spend so much money, trying to, keep it up, and, all of the Viagra, the drugs, the alcohol, all of that's supposed to make them prove to the world or to a woman or to another man that they have fertility, right? That's why men love to show this, right? Show this like, yeah, I still got fertility, I still get an arousal and I can keep my arousal and it's strong. A lot of women don't know what that means, or they kind of suspect what it means. But, who goes around here talking sex like that except men? If women went around talking sex like that, I'd be walking around here all day long talking to I'm a big cat. And don't you fuck with me, because I'm dangerous. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. So anyway, I love getting out and doing what I do, which is talking. I've been avoiding mowing the lawn, which I probably should. But I'm thinking this cold weather, probably tonight it will get cold to drop a few more leaves, and then maybe tomorrow I'll get out and, mow the lawn. But I don't think I'm going to throw away the leaves this time. I think I'm going to just, cart the cut grass and weeds and leaves and stuff and throw them into the garden, and then, eventually flip it, blend it into the garden real well, and that way, it won't have so much clay, next year. My goodness. They must really have a hard time with this claims for this fence. You would think it wouldn't be that hard, you know, for them to get the insurance company just to go on and fix their fence. But leaves to me look so much like fall, and it's beautiful. You know, you can see some of these places, you know, they don't have no leaves, and, you know, and it just doesn't look like fall. Okay.